Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. You can hear me? You can hear me, brothers, right? Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما ألا وإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and sisters, today we are going to first talk about the 4 principles with which we would be able to protect ourselves from falling into a lot of confusion, and also we would have a lot of clarification about many matters that people sometimes ask questions about and they're still confused maybe. They ask, is Ramadan, which is coming a very special month, is it one of the sacred months? Is it one of the blessed month? They ask, are all of the good deeds in Ramadan multiplied? The rewards are multiplied. And if somebody sins in the month of Ramadan, because it's a special month and he's sinning, are the sins multiplied? These questions are very common and very normal to ask. And before we go into answering, let's learn 4 of the principles which we learn from the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. With regards to a special time and a special place. If the time is special, whether it's a month or a day or a bunch of days or an hour in a day or a certain year, if it is a special time or if it is a special place, then the speciality of the time and the speciality of that place has to be proven with something which is authentic, either in the Quran or from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Otherwise, we cannot just come and say this time is a special or this place is a special. Second, if a time is a special or a place is a special, what are the legislated actions that we can do in that specific place or a specific time? That also has to be based upon an authentic evidence. This is number 2. Number 3, this legislated action that we are supposed to do in that specific time or that specific place, if it has any special reward, that special reward has to be proven from the authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ or something from the Quran. And the 4th point is, if that specific deed has a certain reward or a certain virtue, that reward or virtue, I don't know which one I said in number 3, but the reward and virtue both has to be proven with an authentic hadith or something, of course, from the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These 4 points, if we keep them clear, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and always seek answers for them, and unless we have answers, we don't reach any conclusion, we will be able to save ourselves from numerous innovation that people fall into, and we would be able to save ourselves from numerous claims that people make without any evidence. For example, if somebody says Ashura is a special day, Ashura is the 10th of Muharram, so we ask him, prove it. And there is hadith in Bukhari and Muslim with regards to the 10th of Muharram. This was the day the Prophet ﷺ reported, and he agreed with the Jews when they told him this was the day that Allah protected Prophet Musa from protected Prophet Musa and Bani Israel from Pharaoh. So now we know that it is a special day. Fine. Now the question comes, what are the legislated deeds that can be done on Ashura? And we know that the Prophet ﷺ approved fasting. And as we will see that the fast, as we have heard from the history, when we talked about the history of Ramadan, the first obligatory fasting in the Sharia of the Prophet ﷺ was Ashura, the one day of fasting, and this was before Ramadan was obligated, and this hadith is reported by Imam Bukhari on the authority of our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. So now we know that Ashura is a special day, and there is something that we can do, which is the fasting. And now it is optional, of course. If somebody wants to do it, great. Now the question will come, if I fast in Ashura, what is the reward of fasting in Ashura? Is there any reward? And the Prophet ﷺ explained in the hadith in Sahih Muslim that yes, the reward of the Ashura is the forgiveness of the sins of the past year. Now, if somebody says Ashura is a special day, can we do other things like recite Quran because it's a special day, or give charity because it's a special day? The answer is no, we cannot. What is the proof? The proof is the hadith of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu in Sahih Muslim. He came and asked the Prophet ﷺ, O Prophet of Allah, the Jews, they do such and such. And I think it was talking about cooking food or buying clothes for their wives. I can't exactly remember now, but the hadith is in Sahih Muslim. Can we do that? And that question, by that, from the Sahaba to the Prophet ﷺ, we understand that they know that even if a time is very special, they cannot just legislate their own things to do and make it special. It has to come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he asked this to the Prophet ﷺ, guess what the Prophet ﷺ told him? Although feeding the people or cooking food is something good by itself, but the Prophet ﷺ said, no, you only fast. And these are the evidences which are in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that shows us that four principles that I talked about is something that is very important for us to understand and remember. Another example, if I give you, maybe it would be clear. Monday. Is Monday a special day? And we have the hadith of Abu Qatada radiallahu anhu in Sahih Muslim that the Prophet ﷺ said Monday is a special day because this is the day Quran was revealed to him and this is the day he was born. Now this talks about the virtue of the day, that it's a special day. Now the question comes, what can we do in that day? Is there any specific legislated action? And we know that the Prophet ﷺ used to fast the Mondays. So that is the legislated action on Monday. Can we do other things? Like reciting Quran, feeding the poor people, and so on and so forth? The answer is yes, and the answer is no. The answer is yes if somebody is doing this on Monday because it's just habitual, because it is easy for him to do it on Monday, and he is not doing this because it is Monday, but he's just doing this because this is one of the days he can easily do these good deeds. Then that is fine. But if he is doing it, or somebody is doing it because it is Monday, because it is the day the Prophet was born, because this is the day Quran was revealed, then this would be classified as an innovation. And now it would be clear to you, inshallah, maybe, that what we can do, what we cannot do, the virtues of the actions, the virtues of the day, and the rewards of the actions, all of these things, once we have a clear methodology to approach it, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, many of the confusion will be gone. Another example I want to give, the 15th of Shaban, the Nisf Shaban, which we just had, and a lot of people have been asking questions because, people say different things and so on and so forth. So it needs clarification. First of all, we apply the four rules. First rule, is the 15th of Shaban a special day? That we have to prove it from something which is authentic. Now, there are reports about the 15th of Shaban to be special. But all of these reports are not authentic. And this is not just our time scholars said. The past scholars, many scholars have clarified. So I'm talking about the scholars of the hadith. Nobody accepted the authenticity of the hadith of Nisf Shaban, except there is one hadith. And that hadith has been authenticated by one of the great imams of our time, the Nasir al-Sunnah. They call him the helper of the Sunnah, and he is the Muhaddith of Asham. Sheikh Muhammad Nasiruddin al-Albani, in his book called Silsilat al-Ahadith al-Sahiha, he authenticated the hadith of Imam Ibn Majah. I'm going to read to you the hadith. Listen. That the Prophet ﷺ supposedly said, Inna Allah la yattali'u fi laylatin nisfin min Sha'ban fayaghfiru li jami'i khalqihi illa li mushrikin aw mushahin. It is reported by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari that the Messenger ﷺ said, Allah looks down on the night of the middle of Sha'ban and forgives all of his creation, except an idolater, meaning a person who commits shirk, and a mushahin. Mushahin means the person who has hatred, animosity in his heart for people, and so on and so forth. Now this hadith, Imam al-Albani, when he authenticated it, he put condition. He mentioned that this hadith is bimajmu'i turuq sahih. When you corroborate all the chains, it is authentic. So he's giving you an indication by itself the hadith is not authentic. But when we corroborate the chains, the hadith is authentic. Now this opinion of the Shaykh about this hadith is being disputed by many scholars of the hadith. First of all, majority, if I say Jamhur ulama, majority of the ulama in the past did not authenticate this hadith. There are some who did, but majority of them, they said no, it is weak. Even if you bring all of the hadith together, chain together, this hadith is not authentic. And even if Shaykh Albani authenticated this hadith, let's say that the hadith is authentic. This hadith is only talking about the virtue of this night. This hadith does not tell us to do something on this night. This night, hadith is saying it's a special night because Allah will forgive except two type of people. Mushrik and the one who has hatred and animosity against others. And Shaykh Al-Albani, after the authentication, he mentioned in his other book, he said this hadith is not a proof that people can gather together and do the bid'ah that they do in this night. Why? Because there is nothing legislated to do on this night except that a person tries to be a good Muslim and removes all of the shahana, all of the hatred and animosity from the heart. If this hadith is authentic. As I mentioned, that many of the ulama of the past and even the present, they contest the authentication of the Shaykh with regards to this hadith. So actually there is nothing reported authentic about the fada'il of the middle of Shaban except this hadith, which is again disputed. This is number one. Second, what are the things are we supposed to do in this night? There is nothing reported. So we cannot legislate anything. Neither prayer, neither fasting specifically for the 15th of Shaban. Now if somebody says, can I fast 15th of Shaban? Can I pray the night in the 15th of Shaban? The answer is yes and the answer is no. The answer is yes if he does it because it is one of the days of Shaban. Because as we know from the authentic hadith in Musnad Imam Ahmad and others, that the Prophet ﷺ used to fast majority of the Shaban. So if it happens that he wants to fast a lot of Shaban and it falls to be on the 15th, then that is fine. So the answer is yes. The answer is no, he cannot fast if he says, oh, this is a special day, so I must fast. Then it will be bid'ah. Similarly, if somebody says, I want to feed poor people, or I want to pray the Qiyamul Layl on the 15th of Shaban, allowed? The answer is yes, and also the answer is no. The answer is yes if he does it because this is one of the days it is easy for him to cook and give people because he's free maybe from his work or so on and so forth, then it's wonderful. But if he says, I'm doing this because it is the 15th of Shaban, because it is a special night, and there is a lot of hadith about it, then this will fall into the category of innovation. And this is something that has been explained by many ulama of the past, like Imam Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali and many of the others. And as I mentioned, that actually, if we look into it properly, there is nothing that we can do in this night. So those people who use the authentication of Shaykh Albani and they try to, sell it by saying that you can do it because Shaykh Albani authenticated it, we tell them, you are taking the tahsin of the Shaykh of Al-Albani, rahmatullahi alayhi, but you are not looking at what he said about the actions to be done on that night. He doesn't support any of the actions. All what he is saying is, if you really want to know about the fada'il of this night, then this is what we can really say. The best we can say that this reaches to the authentic level, although corroborated when you bring the hadith separately, all of them are weak. All of them don't come to the sihha or the authentication to be connected to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. So don't jump into conclusion if somebody is using this and that. Yes, we know that Shaban is a special month because we have proved that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it is a month that people usually neglect, which is between Rajab and Ramadan. It's a special month, yes. But the 15th of Shaban doesn't become special because the Shaban is a special. 15th of Shaban, if we want to specifically say that it is a special, we have to provide clear-cut evidences which is not existing in the books of the hadith. So we cannot just concoct our ways. And unfortunately, I would tell you this, please don't be offended. It's just something, sometimes, we have been taught to do it from day one. When we grew up, we saw it, So it's kind of hard to let it go. And this is one of the reasons people are trying to cling on to a straw. Is there anything that I can cling on to so I can do it? So when they hear this kind of thing, they jump for it. And they jump for it without doing the proper investigation. Just because an alim said the hadith is authentic, it doesn't mean he's telling you to act upon something, especially when we have the clarification from the imam and before him and so on and so forth. So alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, when we have these 4 points clear, inshallah, with this we discuss Ramadan. Now the question comes, is Ramadan special? Is Ramadan a special month? Yes, it is a special month. It is a special month. Is it a blessed month? Of course it's a blessed month. But is it one of the holy, sacred months, which is known as Ashhuril Hurum, the sacred months? The word sacred here, if we translate it from the Hurum, Hurma, those sacred months are 4: Muharram, Rajab, Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah. So Ramadan is not one of them. But it is not one of the sacred months, but it is still special. A very, very special month. And already you know the speciality of this month. First of all, Quran was revealed in it. Allah mentions Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. And we have discussed in detail the hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, which is mawquf but has hukm al-marfu, that in Ramadan, on Laylatul Qadr, the Quran was sent in Jumla, in one totality into the first heaven, and from there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it in different chunks and different times whenever He wished through Jibril alayhi salam. And that does not negate the fact that Jibril heard the Quran directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have discussed it in details in the class that we had the last week. So it is a special month. It is also a special month because this is the month Allah chose one of the pillar of the Islam pillar of the religion to be implemented, which is the fasting of the month of Ramadan. As Allah Ta'ala said, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. This is the evidence. And there is the evidence that the Prophet said, Bunya al-Islam ala khams, that Islam is built upon 5. And there is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma in Bukhari and Muslim, muttafaqun alayhi hadith. And he goes on and on. He says Shahada, and then the 5 times prayer, and Sawmi Ramadan, fasting the month of Ramadan. These are 2 evidences to know the speciality of the month of Ramadan. Then we have the very beautiful narration in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. This is something for Ramadan and not for any other month. This virtue is especially and only for Ramadan, which is Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that the Prophet said, إِذَا كَانَ Ramadan, or he said إِذَا دَخَلَ Ramadan, or he said إِذَا جَاءَ Ramadan. All of these different wordings are reported in Sahih Muslim. When the Ramadan comes, or when we enter Ramadan, futihat abwabul jannah, the doors of the paradise is opened. Futihat, not futihat. Wa futihat, another narration, futihat abwabur rahma, the doors of the mercy are opened. And in Sahih al-Bukhari, futihat abwabus sama, and the doors of the skies are open. So 3 things: the doors of the paradise, the doors of the mercy, and the doors of the sky. All these 3 things are matter of unseen. As for the doors of the paradise, we know that there are how many doors? How many? 8? Jannah has 7 gates or 8 gates?
8.
Huh? I can't remember right now the hadith in Bukhari. You have to check. I think... what is the verse in Surah about the hellfire? Laha sabawat abwab, right? Oh, okay. Alhamdulillah. Now I remember. Yes, the Jannah has 8 gates, not 7. 8 gates. Now, how many gates of sky? So we know that sky. How many skies are there? 7 skies. 7. And when they translate the word heaven, they don't mean paradise. All the classical translation we have in the Mohsin Khan translation, and here when they say heaven, they don't mean paradise, brothers or sisters. They mean sky. The 7 skies. So there are 7 skies. So now these skies have doors. How many doors? We do not know. Does each sky have only 1 door or more door? Allahu Alam. But all whatever doors we have, all of them they open. Now the other thing is Futihat Abwab al-Rahma. This is something we cannot explain because we have not been given enough knowledge. But what we do understand is all of these doors are wide open for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to descend and to cover with the one who will deserve it and the one who will beg. Then he said, Wa ghulliqat abwabu an-nar, and the doors of the hell are closed. In another narration, وَغُلِّقَتْ أَبْوَابُ جَهَنَّمْ, the doors of the Jahannam are closed. And how many doors of Jahannam? 7. There are 7 because Allah mentions in the Quran. Now I remember the doors of the paradise, the number is mentioned in the Hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, and the number of the doors of the hellfire is mentioned in the Quran. And then وَسُفِّدَتِ shayatin, and the shayatin are chained. وَغُلِّقَتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ, another, and the shayatin are chained. Now this chaining, how it happened, we do not know. It's a matter of unseen. A lot of people ask this question: if the shayatin are chained, then how come so many bad things happen? This is first of all because when the Prophet ﷺ said وَسُفِّدَتِ shayatin, he is talking about shayatin al-jinn. Shayatin al-jinn only. As for the shayatin al-ins, the shaitan from the human being, they are all everywhere. And they also whisper and they cause fasad and all of these things. Then we have something, min shururi anfusina, we have the evil of ourselves. Sometimes we do not need the shaitan to tell us to do things. We ourselves have acclaimed ourselves to so much bad that we do not need shaitan to whisper. We whisper to ourselves to do the bad things. So these things are there in the month of Ramadan. So that's why we see a lot of evil. But at the same time, the believers, they do know what is the blessings of this month, because a lot of good things can be done. And people who cannot even come to the masjid, sometimes we see them all the time in the masjid. And this is one of the reason is because Allah made it easy. So we should try to utilize that time to charge ourselves up, so after Ramadan we can build on it. So until we go to the next Ramadan, we charge more and build on it. So this way we will go gradually bigger and bigger in charging, meaning like in iman and faith and so on and so forth. Now I want to mention to you, sometimes people will say in the month of Ramadan the punishment of the graves are, this is something very commonly said, the punishments of the graves are stopped until the Imam finishes the Eid prayer. Nothing from the authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And so many things people claim. For example, they claim that in the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decorates the paradise every day. Now, if this is true, that would be a great news for us. But it is not true, because the hadith that they depend upon, it is the hadith of Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, and it is mawdu, it's fabricated. It is not authentic, it's not even weak, it is a fabricated narration, a lie which has been attributed by the liars to the Prophet ﷺ. So we have to be very careful. Just because month of Ramadan is a special, people will come with certain virtue, we should not just grab it. We should try to figure it out. And this is not something difficult. Here is the thing. If somebody comes and tells you something special about the month of Ramadan, as you know, this is the time of social media. You're connected to 100 different friends. Those 100 different friends are connected to another 100 different friends or 1,000 different friends, and they get all of these things. Some people do not know, may Allah forgive them. And whatever they read and it seems good to them, they forward it. Don't grab everything. Verify. If something looks to be okay, it could be okay. It could be very fine. It could be okay. But you have to still verify it. You have to still take it to somebody who can give you a hadith or connect you to something which is connected with the chain of narration to the Prophet ﷺ, because this is the deen. Other than that, we grab here, grab this one and grab that one, and then we come up with collage of all fabrication, and we have some authentic things and lot of fabrication. And people are always confused because of this. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, when we know the methodology of accessing the deen, accessing the knowledge, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, this is not difficult. This is the middle path, and this is the path that was as-Sahabat al-Kiram, and all of the A'imma of this ummah is upon now, and will be upon until the day of judgment, insha'Allah ta'ala. Then we have the speciality of the month of Ramadan. We have the Laylatul Qadr. I don't want to spend too much time on Laylatul Qadr, but you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. We have revealed the Quran in Laylatul Qadr. Wa ma adraka ma Laylatul Qadr. And what do you know about Laylatul Qadr? So now, Allah is teaching us, you know Laylatul Qadr is special because Quran is revealed to it. But don't start using your mind to start coming up with virtues of Laylatul Qadr. I am the one who know, Allah is the one who knows the value and the virtues of Laylatul Qadr. He is going to tell you. Then Allah Ta'ala answers, Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr. The night of Al-Qadr is better than 1,000 months. How much better? Allah doesn't mention. 1 time better? 2 times better? Million times better? Zillion times better? We have no idea. But Allah said, khayrun min alfi shahr, enough for us to know about the speciality of that specific night of the Ramadan. Then we know that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, the hadith is narrated by Abu Umam al-Bahili radiallahu anhu, and has been authenticated by Imam al-Albani and Sheikh Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi'i, both of the great Imams. The Prophet ﷺ said, Inna lillahi azza wa jalla inda kulli fitrin utaqa. Indeed, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for every day of breaking fast, He frees people from the hellfire. He frees people from the hellfire. This is something very special for every day during the breaking of the fast. And also we know this very beautiful hadith, which is the month of Ramadan is the month of Eid. And Nabi Karim ﷺ said, and the hadith is reported by Abu Bakr, not Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, this is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And this hadith is reported by Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Shahran, the Prophet said, Shahran, the 2 months, la yanqusan, they do not decrease. Eidin, Shahra Eidin, the 2 months of Eid. The 2 months of Eid, they do not decrease. What are those? Ramadan wa Dhul Hijjah. One of the day of Eid, one of the month of Eid is Ramadan, and on the other month of the Eid is Dhul Hijjah. Now, the ulama, they differed about what is the meaning. Shahran la yanqusan. The 2 months, they do not decrease. A group of the ulama, they said this means that these 2 months can never be 29. It's always 30. And the other ulama, they said, no, this position is not correct because the Prophet said, Sumu li ru'yati wa aftiru bi ru'yati. So if the month is 29, it's 29. So this opinion is not correct. Then the other group of ulama, they say this means if Ramadan is 29, Dhul Hijjah will be 30. Or if Ramadan is 30, Dhul Hijjah would be 29. Both of them cannot be 29. And this is not also correct because sometimes in some years we see both of the months could be 29. Okay, so what is correct is what most of the people, they say, and Allah knows best. Allah knows best. They say that Shahran la yanqusan means these 2 months will never be deprived of the blessings, regardless in whatever condition it is, i.e. And they talked about the days. Let's say that Ramadan is this year 29. Somebody would say, oh, we will miss one. If it was 30, it would have been better. So they said, don't say that, because even if it is 29, it's full of blessings. Don't think it will be less of blessing. This is one understanding that could be inshallah ta'ala correct. And I believe that this is kind of applies to our time a lot, because in our time, specifically in this year, we would not be able to do so many things that we usually do in the month of Ramadan and the other years. We are stuck at home, we cannot see each other, we cannot pray with each other, we cannot break the fast with each other. Many of the brothers, subhanAllah, this year, just even 2 months ago, they told me, I want to book a slot in the masjid for providing iftar. I have heard this from 3-4 people, they were requesting. Just even 2 months before, they said, please keep 2 days. Some of them said 2, some of them said 1, and so on and so forth. And here we go that Allah knows best, things can completely change, drastically change, if Allah wills. But the way things are going, most likely, it could be that we're going to be stuck at home. But yet with all of these things, just remember this hadith, Shahran la yanqusan. These 2 months, they will never decrease in any goodness, in any blessings. So inshallah ta'ala, as long as we do our best to extract the benefit from these 2 months, alhamdulillah, we will have the blessings. Now we talked about the blessings of this month, and every blessings I spoke about, I tried to connect it with the evidence, right? Now, if you hear something else, we'll say it's possible, because we might not be able to give everything to you. It's possible, but If somebody now declares that there is a certain virtue of the month of Ramadan, hatu burhanakum in kuntum sadiqin. Bring the evidences, alhamdulillah, then we will be able to accept this, inshallah. Now the question comes, and why I'm going through step by step, because this will answer a lot of confusion. I'll explain why. Lot of confusion people have. What are the deeds legislated for Ramadan? Now we understood that just because a time is special or a place is special, we cannot legislate our own things. What do we mean by legislation? Like something we do it specifically because it is special. Like it is Ramadan, I want to do this because it is Ramadan. So what are the things Allah has legislated? Let's look at them first, because most of it, you know the evidence, most of it. First of all, the most important legislation of the month of Ramadan is fasting. That is something nobody has to dispute and argue, but still they have to bring proof, which is, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. We have already spoken about it. The proofs are very clear. So no question about that. Then we have the legislated action of Zakatul Fitr, a special charity that has to be given in a special form, in the form of food, at a special time before a special event. That is before the Eid Salah locally, in the form of food. You have to distribute this either to the poor people directly in the form of food, or you give the money to a trustworthy organization. They promise that they will distribute this food, this money in the form of food. Then alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, you can give the money. That's why a lot of people, they say, how come we can give money to the masjid, Masjid Ibrahim, or any masjid? We say that this is because the masjid, you give it to organization, you give it to the money. First you make sure, because there is some ikhtilaf about this qadiman, from long time ago. When it comes to Zakatul Fitr, we're going to talk about it. The correct and the clear-cut position is it cannot be given in the form of kind. It cannot be given in the form of cash or any other form except food. Okay, and the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ and the hadith of As-Sahabat al-Kiram is very clear. Ala hadha, some of the ulama, and especially the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa, because this is the opinion of Abu Hanifa, he said it's allowed to give other than food. And this is where the ikhtilaf started. And people sometimes, what they look for is a fatwa. They don't look for the evidences. And that's how it should be. We should look for the evidences. Even if Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi said something, it doesn't mean that it has to be immediately accepted, especially when it goes against the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we keep the opinion of Abu Hanifa aside and we follow what is from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the methodology of all of the A'immate Ahlul Hadith and Ahlul Sunnah, including Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi, who is one of the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah without any doubt. طيب. So then we have Qiyamul Layl, the night prayer. It's something legislated, special. The Prophet said, Man qama Ramadanan imana wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. So it's specifically legislated Qiyamul Layl for Ramadan. So now this is a legislated action. Then studying the Quran every night. This is mustahab. This is not obligatory. But the Prophet ﷺ used to study Quran with Jibreel alayhi salam every night. And this is one of the legislated action in the Ramadan. Another legislated action in the Ramadan, i'tikaf, to devote ourselves at the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan in the masjid and not come to the family and so on and so forth. And there is details of that, but i'tikaf is only in the masjid. I'tikaf cannot be done at home. I'tikaf cannot be done at home. There is no evidence that the Prophet ﷺ or Sahabat al-Kiram, they used to do i'tikaf at home. It's only in the masjid. Then there is a special dua the Prophet legislated on Laylatul Qadr, when our mother asked him, what should I say if I witness this one? What the Prophet taught her, Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul affa fa'fu anni. Now there is some addition that people catch from the dua of the Imams of Haramain, Allahumma innaka afuwun kareemun tuhibbul affa. This kareem is not from the dua of the Prophet. This is something added by the A'immah when they are making dua. So the correct dua or the legislated dua is Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul affa fa'fu anni. Then we have the voluntary charity legislated, because the Prophet ﷺ kana ajwadun nas, he was the most generous, wa ajwadu ma yakunu fi Ramadan, but he was more generous in the month of Ramadan. But this generosity, this charity is only with regards to the optional charity. As for the zakat, we have explained that zakat it is not, the Ramadan does not have to be the month of zakat. If your zakat is due before Ramadan, some people unfortunately what they do is they wait for Ramadan. That is not allowed, because it is prohibited to delay giving the zakat. You can give the zakat in advance, but we cannot delay the zakat and wait for Ramadan to be given, because they think that if I give zakat in Ramadan, I will have more reward. We say, what is the proof? There is no proof for this. But it so happens that your zakat becomes obligatory in Ramadan, alhamdulillah, then of course you will give it in Ramadan. Inshallah, there is no problem with regards to that. Another legislated action is to help the fasting person to break the fast. And this is from the hadith of Khalid, the Sahabi's name I forgot, I think it's Khalid al-Juhani, can't remember. The hadith is very authentic. That if we help somebody to break their fast, the Prophet said, we get their ajr, we get their reward. Then we have, of course, the specific actions on Laylatul Qadr, which has also legislated the night prayer and the i'tikaf and so on and so forth. These are the only legislated actions in the month of Ramadan. Is there anything that is legislated? No. But if somebody is doing this because he has time, for example, if somebody wants to teach dars, classes in Ramadan, he can do that. But if he says, I'm doing this because it is a special Ramadan and I will get more reward, this will turn into an innovation. Because the Prophet ﷺ did not specify any specific deed like this for the month of Ramadan. And mashallah Rabbil Alamin, what we have, what I just mentioned to you from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, this is enough. I don't think so we can't even fulfill those things properly. With the amount of concentration and devotion needed, what the Prophet used to do in the month of Ramadan, there is nothing else is needed. This is more than enough, insha'Allah ta'ala. So now the question, the $1 million question, what about the other deeds if I do? Like habitually. For example, they say, is the 5 times prayer more rewarding in the month of Ramadan than the 5 times prayer outside the month of Ramadan? We say there is nothing. No evidence to say that. Is the Jummah prayer in Ramadan special than the Jummah prayer outside Ramadan? And ulama al-kiram, they explained all the Jummahs, their fada'il is same, except with evidence. Do we have evidence? The Prophet said the Jummahs of the month of Ramadan is special. We know that the very famous celebration that is done, which is called the Akhiri Jummah, in the Arab countries they call it Jummah al-Yatima or something. This is being concocted by the Dawlatul Abbasiyya. This, if we go to the history, nothing to do with the Prophet ﷺ, nothing to do with the Sahaba, nothing to do with the Tabi'een. This is to do with some dawla, some regime, they did it, and then it was followed by the Fatimids, and it became a culture. Well, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, not a problem. If somebody comes and tells us this Jummah, the last Jummah of Ramadan is special, we tell them all the Jummahs are special. But why are you specifying the last Jummah of Ramadan? Provide an evidence. And once we go this route, alhamdulillah, all the confusions, inshallah, will be gone. Another question they ask, so the Prophet ﷺ used to give charity in the month of Ramadan, optional charity, and he used to recite Quran in the month of Ramadan. If I recite Quran in the month of Ramadan and I give charity, optional charity in the month of Ramadan, following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, is this charity and is this reciting Quran better? Meaning, they're asking, is it more rewarding? And the answer, we do not know. For us to say what is the reward, what is the amount of the reward, we have to have something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to give you an example. The Prophet ﷺ used to pray the Qiyamul Layl in the month of Ramadan. And he said, Man qama Ramadan, the one who prays the night prayer in Ramadan, imana wa ihtisaban, with faith and hoping the reward from Allah. So now we know that Qiyamul Layl is legislated. Now he tells you the reward. غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. Allah will forgive all of his sins of the past. So now we have an evidence to say this Qiyamul Layl, this is a special thing, optional thing. If we do it in the month of Ramadan, Allah will give us this a specific reward. Because now we have an evidence. But if somebody asks us, every night if I read Quran, following the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, or in the day, if I cannot do it in the night, I do it in the day, following what the Prophet ﷺ was doing at night, Will I get any specific reward? All what we can say is we hope so. Because Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. He will never tell you to do something and will not give you a reward. But can we say for sure that there is a certain specific reward that is more than other times? We can't. We hope so. We want that. That's one thing. If you ask me, do you hope that? For sure I hope that. Do you want that? Yes, who doesn't want it? Everybody wants a special reward. But can we claim it? The answer is no, we cannot claim it. Because this is a matter of unseen. Allah is the owner and Allah is the Lord of the good deeds. Remember this. Allah is the one who appoints the virtues of the good deeds. And Allah is the one who appoints the rewards of the good deeds. So if He tells us that this specific good deed has a virtue, we say it has a virtue. He says this specific good deed has a reward, we say it has a reward. So now we can approve. I'm going to give you another example to make it more clear. We know that out of all of the places in the world, regardless of how beautiful and picturesque it is, the most beloved place on the earth is the Makkah. And Allah has appointed the hurma of the Makkah the day He created the heavens and the earth. The hadith is very authentic. The day He created the heavens and the earth, Allah appointed two things. One is He made the Makkah the haram, the holy sanctuary, even before people existed and people did Hajj or Umrah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appointed the 12 months in the year, the lunar calendar. These are the two things Allah has appointed on the day He created the heavens and the earth. Now we know that the Haram Sharif, the Makkah, it's haram. Now all of this big haram is an area, but inside the area we have a place called Masjidul Haram. So we know that in this masjid, if somebody prays, he gets 100,000 more reward. Why? Because we know the Prophet ﷺ explained it. So if somebody says, I'm going to go to Masjidul Haram and I want to fast there, is the fasting in Masjidul Haram 100,000 times more rewarding than fasting in any other place? The answer is we do not know. If somebody says, wouldn't you want it? Why not? Wouldn't you ask Allah? Why not? But can you claim? No, we cannot claim. Why we cannot claim? Cannot Allah give that? For sure Allah can give that. But we cannot claim because there is no text. This is called following the religion with the text evidence. Once we go in this manner, we are not going to jump here and there and will appoint virtues without any proof and evidence. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, what we say is, try your best to follow the Prophet ﷺ. If the Prophet ﷺ did not appoint or tell us anything about the reward, don't worry about it. Because the reward Allah will give. But let's not concoct rewards. So if somebody says that all of the deeds in the month of Ramadan are more rewarding, this is not correct to say. Perhaps it is. Perhaps it is. And that's why we are not denying that Allah will not give us reward more. But we are saying that to agree and to approve and to say with a strength that yes, Allah will give us more reward for every good deeds in the month of Ramadan, we have no evidence for this. But we do hope that in our heart. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I think it should be clear. Same thing, what is the reward of giving voluntary charity? Is it more? Allahu Alam. We hope so. But we don't have any text to verify it would be more or it would be less. But we hope that Allah will give us a lot of reward, insha'Allah ta'ala, for these blessed months. Similarly, for the 5 times prayer and the Yawmul Jumu'ah and so on and so forth. But here is the thing, the month of Ramadan is special. And in this special month, we should try to specially preserve our 5 times prayer and the obligations, because it's a special month. And we want the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to descend upon us and so on and so forth. So that's one thing. Okay. But to come and claim that these are more rewarding or more special than any other months, if we do not have any evidence, we cannot say that. If somebody now comes and says, is the Qiyamul Layl of month of Ramadan special than the Qiyamul Layl of other months? The answer is yes. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, the one who prays the Qiyamul Layl in the month of Ramadan, غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِ. We have an evidence to say Qiyamul Layl is special in month of Ramadan than Qiyamul Layl in any other months. Mathalan, an example. Because now we have, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, the proof. So with this, inshallah, we finish this topic, and now we move on to the issue of starting the month with the moon sighting. As we know that the narration is very authentic from the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Sumu li ru'yati wa aftiru bi ru'yati. Start the fasting with the sighting of the moon and break the fast with the sighting of the moon. So it is not just for the month of Ramadan or the month of Shawwal. It's for all of the lunar months that we have to start with the sighting of the moon and we have to end with the sighting of the moon. This is one thing that is very clear. The other confusion comes is because some of the people, they usually predetermine the calendar and they do it based upon the hisab al-falaki, yani the astrological or astronomical calculation. Okay, and they use this data to also sometimes reject the sighting of the moon, and this is not correct. When it comes to sighting of the moon to start the month and end the month, the astronomical calculation cannot come into play. Yes, we know that we live in a time where things are very modern and this and that, but this has nothing to do with modernness. This has to do with the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have the hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. The Prophet ﷺ said, we nations, we are ummi, we are unlettered nation. We do not read, we do not write, and we do not calculate. And then he mentioned the months are like this, and he showed 30, and another time he showed 29. By making the fingers like that, 29 or 30. So by this statement, the ulama explained that the Prophet ﷺ is rejecting the astronomical calculation because astronomical calculation is not something new. It was done way before the Prophet ﷺ. This is how they used to navigate. So the birth of the stars, the birth of the moon, this has been studied generations before even the birth of the Prophet ﷺ. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him as a prophet, on top of giving him the hadi that he has to educate the ummah to start the month with the sighting of the moon, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade this ummah to use this calculation method. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ, that's why he said, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if the moon is being covered, and ghumma here means with the cloud or with the bad weather. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَقُدُرُوا لَهُ. And this فَقُدُرُوا لَهُ is explained in two ways. One way, they said فَقُدُرُوا لَهُ means you restrict the number. So that's why famous amongst the older of the Hanabila, that if there was a night which was the moon was covered on the 30th of Shaban, they would consider the Shaban to be 29th and they would start that night to be the first of Ramadan. Now here is the thing, when we sight the moon, we sight the moon on the 30th night, the 30th of Shaban. If we see the moon, then the 30th night becomes the first night of Ramadan. If we do not see the moon, then the 30th night of Shaban remains the 30th night of Shaban. But the correct explanation of فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, restrict, it doesn't mean restrict, because other narration the Prophet said فَأَكْمِلُ الْعِدَّةِ, you complete the time. Another narration he said make the Shaban 30. With all of these different reports, it's clear that فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ means that if we cannot see the moon because there is a bad weather and so on and so forth, we consider that night to be the 30th of the previous month, i.e. a Shaban. Let's say we are talking about Shaban now. 30th of Shaban and the next day would be Ramadan. What if the moon is there? It's possible the moon is covered but the moon is there, even if the moon is there. So if the moon is there, actually it is the first of Ramadan. Yes, it is. But Allah wants you to consider that first of Ramadan as the 30th of Shaban. And that is where the ikhtilaf will come if a person is depending upon the calculation. Because perhaps with the calculation they would figure out that on, let's say, on the 24th of April, which is let's say the 30th night of Ramadan. On the 24th of April, the moon should be there. And it happens that it's فَدْغُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, the moon is covered or nobody could see it. In this situation, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ tells us that you have to make, although it is the first, you do not know, although maybe it is the first, you have to still make it the 30th. But whereas if somebody goes with the calculation method, which a lot of people unfortunately nowadays promoting in the name of science and this and that, which is we are not against science, but if there is a command of the Prophet ﷺ, it's awla. Allah is the Lord of the science. The science or the scientists or the people who are expert in this field, they cannot come and define the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ defines their way. If their way is in way of the Sharia, then that way has to be cancelled. And what the Prophet ﷺ has approved from Allah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has approved upon the tongue of the Prophet ﷺ is what is awla for us to follow. This is Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen with regards to the sighting of the moon. Now there is a two famous opinion, Wahdatul Matale and Ikhtilafil Matale. The Wahdatul Matale means the whole horizon, the whole earth is one horizon. And Ikhtilafil Matale means every single region has their own horizon. Both of these positions are very famous amongst the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah ulama. However, in our time, what looks like to be the most correct is the application of the Wahdatul Matali. First of all, because when we look into the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, we do not see the Prophet ﷺ has defined a certain barrier. When he said, Sumu li ru'yati, fast when you see the moon, he did not put a barrier. He didn't say only Medina or Makkah. Makkah has their own sighting, Medina has their own sighting. No. In fact, we have a hadith in Abu Dawud which is authentic, that one day the Prophet ﷺ, in the end of the month of Ramadan, they wanted to see the moon, they couldn't see it. So they completed 30 days of Ramadan, they were fasting the next day. While during the day, a caravan came into Medina and they informed the Prophet ﷺ that while they were coming in, they saw the moon. So the Prophet ﷺ took their sighting report and he cancelled the fasting and he told them to come to pray the Eid prayer the next day. That hadith is a clear evidence that the Prophet ﷺ did not put any specific barrier. And that's why those ulama who say that the Wahdatul Matale, meaning this command of the Prophet ﷺ, Sumu li ru'yati, is for the whole ummah, and we try our best to receive the correct sighting report, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, and then we start the month of Ramadan. It doesn't have to be America, it could be seen in the South America, it could be seen in the other parts of the world, wherever. As long as there is a trustworthy moon sighting report, that moon sighting report should be the basis of all the whole ummah to declare the Ramadan, starting of the Ramadan and the end of the Ramadan. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, this matter is something very clear, although a lot of people they dispute, but Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I think most of the people they're seeing the correctness of this, and many of the masajid they're changing their position to, they used to before follow the Ikhtilaf al-Matali and used to cause a lot of dispute. MashaAllah, they're moving towards the Wahdat al-Matali now, which is Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, as we mentioned, the correct opinion amongst these differences, insha'Allah ta'ala. We have some time left, so let me start with this topic, which is, there is a prohibition with regards to 1 or 2 days before the month of Ramadan to fast. There is prohibition and there is also permission, both. It's in one narration, it looks like it's prohibited. In another narration, the Prophet ﷺ gives permission. So when is it prohibited, when it is permitted? Inshallah, we're going to discuss it now. But for us to understand, let me find this topic here. For us to understand that, we have to understand the two hadith. First hadith is the hadith of Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu. And this Imam al-Bukhari reported in Sahih al-Bukhari in the form mu'allaq form. So Imam al-Bukhari in his Sahih, he has two types of narration. One narration, Mawsul narration, where he puts a chain of narration from him all the way to the Prophet ﷺ. That's called Mawsul, meaning connected. And there are some narration, he brings mu'allaq, meaning he doesn't put the chain of narration from him to the Prophet ﷺ. Out of these narrations, some of them are weak and some of them are authentic. Those which are weak, he will say yudhkaru, it is mentioned, okay? Or waqil, and it is said. He will give a certain indication to tell you what I'm telling you is not authentic. And when he knows the hadith is authentic, but he still doesn't bring the chain because the chain has some issues in it, yet it is authentic. But he doesn't bring it in his Sahih with the chain. So he's giving an indication that I do not consider this to be the level of the Sihha to put in my Sahih, but it is still Sahih. So when he will use the word waqala and he said, which is called, the ulama call it bisighatil jazam, meaning he is giving you an indication that it is true. Now this is the hadith of Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu. It's mentioned, and this hadith is reported by the way, all the four ai of the Sahih Sitta, excluding Imam Muslim and also Imam Ibn Hibban and others, and has been authenticated by Imam al-Albani and the ulama of the hadith, other ulama of the hadith. قال سلة ibn Zufar, this is the great tabi'i who said, كنا عند عمار ibn Yasir فأتي بشاة مصلية فقال كلوا. Okay, so a animal, a sheep was brought, cooked, and it was skinned and cooked, and it was brought to him. So he said, Kulu, eat. فَتَنَحَّى بَعْضُ الْقَوْمِ. A person, he didn't want to. He basically said, no, I don't want to. فَقَالَ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. He said, I'm fasting. فَقَالَ عَمَّارٌ مَنْ صَامَ يَوْمُ الشَّكِّ. The one who fasts on the day of doubt, فَقَدْ عَصَى أَبَا الْقَاسِمِ. Then he has disobeyed Abu al-Qasim. This hadith is, as I mentioned, authentic. And another narration, he said, and this is reported by Imam Ibn Abi Shayba and authenticated by Imam al-Albani rahmatullahi alayh. He said, فَقَالَ عَمَّارٌ إِن كُنْتَ تُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَتَعَالَى كُلْ. He said, if you believe in Allah and the last day, come and eat. Because this was the day they were not sure if it is Ramadan or not. Let's say today is the night of the 30th of Shaban, which is Wednesday. And people, it's cloudy and people could not see the moon. So this is then regarded as Yawm Shak, the day of doubt. If on this day somebody is fasting, okay, then this fasting is prohibited. But there is some allowance. And what is the allowance? The allowance is given in the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu in Bukhari and Muslim. Listen to the hadith first. And Abi Salam, then I will explain to you the different scenarios. And Abi Salamata and Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يتقدمن أحدكم رمضان بصوم يوم أو يومين إلا أن يكون رجل كان يصوم صومه فليصوم ذلك اليوم. The Prophet ﷺ said, none of you should fast a day or two before the Ramadan, unless he has the habit of fasting that day, then he can fast. This is the permission. This part is the permission. So when is it prohibited? When it is permitted. So let me give you a scenario, two scenarios you will understand clearly, inshallah. Example. Let's say that today is the 30th of Shaban and it is the day of Shak. So somebody says, I will fast tomorrow. If it is Ramadan, alhamdulillah, I'll get it. And if it is not Ramadan, it will be voluntary fasting. I'm fasting Shaban. This fasting is prohibited. This fasting will bring sin. This fasting is not allowed. Okay. If somebody says that I know it's a day of doubt, I just feel like fasting tomorrow. Is this allowed? No, it is not allowed. Prohibited. Why? Because this is not one of his habitual day of fasting. He just wants to fast tomorrow. Not allowed. So in which scenario it is allowed? For example, somebody knows tomorrow is the day of doubt. Okay? But he wants to make up one of the obligatory fasting. Or he wants to fast one of the obligatory fasting, like obligatory fasting of Ramadan, or like he made an oath, or he has to give a kafara. For some reason, he has to make up a fast for some oath, breaking an oath, and so on and so forth. Those fasting are obligatory. Or let's say that one of his mom died or his dad died, and they had some certain fasting they promised they will do in the path of Allah, but they couldn't fulfill it. Those are obligatory fasting. Those fasting allowed for him to do. He can do it on the day of doubt. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, he gives an exception. Illa أن يكون رجل كان يصوم, except if a person used to fast that day, meaning like he is habitually fasting that specific reason. For example, tomorrow is Thursday, and tomorrow, let's say, is the day of doubt. Okay, and somebody fasts every Thursday, so he wants to fast tomorrow. Then this is absolutely fine, because the prohibition in the hadith of Ammar ibn Yasir and the prohibition in the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu is only for the people who are going to fast because, oh, Ramadan is coming and I just want to catch the first day of Ramadan and I want to fast. not allowed. Okay, and this is why the ulama, they say that obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in fasting is, sometimes we fast and we obey Allah, and sometimes we do not fast and we obey Allah too. And that's why you see that Sahabi was very angry. When he told this man to come and eat, he said, I'm fasting. He said, if you believe in Allah and the last day, then come and break your fast. Because that person was fasting the day of doubt. He was not doing any habitual fasting. He was just doing because most likely he wanted to catch Ramadan. As some people, they think that it's smart. Oh, I will catch Ramadan. I will do something good. Well, the Sharia sometimes gives us this specific, a scenario which makes, even though our intention is good, but that action will be prohibited if it is done by disobeying the Prophet ﷺ. Alhamdulillah, I can take another maybe 5-7 minutes and finish the topic today. The intention of the month of Ramadan. How to make the intention of the month of Ramadan. We have two sets of narration we have to understand, and inshallah it will be clear. One narration is the narration of Hafsa, Ummul Mu'minin Hafsa radiallahu anha. She mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ said, Man lam yubayyit as-siyam qabla al-fajri fala siyama lah. The one who did not make the intention of his fasting before the Fajr, okay, then his fasting is not valid. Okay, and this hadith comes with different wording, and the ulama, they dispute about the hadith. Is it mawquf or is it marfu? Some of the ulama of the hadith said it's mawquf, meaning it's a statement of our mother Hafsa, and some of them this is marfu. But Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, regardless, the hadith is authentic and it is marfu inshallah ta'ala, as has been mentioned by many of the ulama, including Sheikh Muhammad Nasiruddin Al-Albani rahmatullahi alayhi. So this hadith shows that for sure obligatory fasting, and this doesn't include just the Ramadan, make up Ramadan or any other obligatory fasting, the person has to have the intention before the Fajr. Otherwise, he cannot fast. This is something that is not disputed amongst any of the ulama of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay, for the obligatory fasting, except for the Hanafiya, because they have a position, but inshallah we're going to talk about that later on. Okay, now how to make the intention. The Prophet ﷺ, in one narration, he said, the one who did not have the intention at the night. Okay, because of this reason, some, very few, they say the intention has to be made for every single day of Ramadan the night before. Okay, but this is not obligatory. So there is two ways you can do the intention. You can renew the intention every single night, which is difficult. And the easy thing is to do is before the Ramadan, you know that you're going to fast the whole Ramadan. That's your intention. You don't have to every single night rejuvenate your intention. You have the intention in the heart that you're going to fast the whole month of Ramadan. That would suffice, inshallah. And this is the statement of many of the ulama of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Now the question comes is this also obligatory for optional fasting? Do we have to make the intention for the optional fasting before the Fajr? And this has a big dispute about it. But the correct position, inshallah ta'ala, is that if it is an optional fasting, then the condition doesn't have to be that the intention has to be there before the Fajr. It can be even made during the daytime. And we have the hadith, which is the hadith of our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. Let me read it to you. What is it? Okay. This narration, our mother Aisha radiallahu anha reported in Sahih Muslim, and reported by Imam Muslim on the authority of Talha ibn Yahya and Ammatihi and Aishata bint Talhata and Aishata Ummul Mu'minin. So the one who is reporting from our mother Aisha is known as Aishata bint Talha. Let me tell you something about her. Aishata bint Talha. She was the daughter of Talha ibn Ubaidillah, one of the Ashri Mubashirin, and we know about her biography in Siyar Alam in Nubala. and she was known to be extremely beautiful woman. Extremely beautiful woman. She was married first to Abdullah ibn Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And then after the death of Abdullah, she married Mus'ab ibn Zubayr, who was the Amir of the Iraq at that time. And the mahar of her wedding was mi'ata alfa dinar. 100,000 dinar was the mahar that Mus'ab ibn Zubayr gave her for the marriage. When Mus'ab ibn Zubayr was killed and she became a widow, she was married to Umar ibn Ubaidillah at-Taymi. And this man gave her mahar of alfa dirham, which is 1 million silver coin. And with all of this richness and all of this beauty, these women, they were the most obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just because I'm beautiful and just because I'm rich, it doesn't mean that I cannot be obedient to Allah. You can fulfill everything. Your salat, your siyam, your hijab, everything. Because this was done by the people of the past. So this notion that we live in 2000 something, so we can skip this, we can skip that, this is not correct, as we can see from the biographies of these tremendously great ulama from the as-sahabat al-kiram and al-tabi'in. So Aisha bint Talha, she was also the niece of Aisha radiallahu anha, because she was the daughter of Kulthum bint Abi Bakr. So basically she was Aisha was her khala, her mother's sister. She narrated on the authority of Aisha, قال دخل علي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات يوم فقال هل عندكم شيء. She said one day the Prophet ﷺ came to us and said, is there anything with you? فَقُلْنَا لَا. So we said no. قَالَ فَإِنِّي إِذَنْ صَائِمٌ. He said, if you don't, then I am fasting. Some of the ulama, they disputed this and they said it does not mean that he didn't have the intention the night before. Okay, and those are the ulama, they consider that you have to have the intention for obligatory and optional both before the Fajr. However, the correct position is that the second position, which is no, you don't. For optional fasting, you can make the intention in the morning, as it looks like from this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. ثم أتانا يوما آخر فقلنا يا رسول الله أهدي لنا حيث. She said, somebody sent us some kind of food, a gift. فقال أرينيه فلقد أصبحت صائما. He said, show it to me because I woke up in the morning fasting. فأكل. But then he broke his fast and he ate, because this is an optional fasting. So when this is optional fasting, we have this flexibility. That first of all, if you didn't eat anything in the morning, you can make the intention in the morning, at any time. Now, Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi mentions, or if the statement or the chapter heading is from Imam Nawawi, he's saying this, that you have to make the intention before the zawal. There is no proof for this. This intention can be made during any time of the day, as long as you didn't eat anything in the morning. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Now, there is one thing that needs some clarification, and with that we will finish today's topic about the intention, which is, if a person wakes up in the morning of the first day of Ramadan and he doesn't know that it is Ramadan, what does he do? Some of the ulama, they said that whether he ate or he doesn't eat, he stops eating and he stops eating and then he has to make up one day. This position is not correct, because we have the hadith of Salama ibn al-Aqwa radiallahu anhu, and this is one of the strongest chain in Sahih al-Bukhari, which is called the Thulathiyat Imam al-Bukhari, because between Imam Bukhari and the Prophet ﷺ, only three people, Abu Asim al-Nabil and Yazid ibn Abi Ubaid and Salamata ibn al-Aqwa radiallahu anhu, which is a Sahabi. أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعث رجلا ينادي في الناس. The Prophet ﷺ sent a person to proclaim to the people, يوم عاشوراء, on the day of Ashura, أن من أكل فليتم أو فليصم ومن لم يأكل فلا يأكل. So he said, on the day of Ashura, the Prophet ﷺ sent a man to announce, whoever has eaten should not eat anymore and fast. And whoever has not eaten should not eat but complete his fast. So this is for a situation. Now here is the thing. At this time, when the Prophet ﷺ told this man to go and proclaim, this time Ashura was obligatory. Ashura was obligatory. But we know that later on Ashura became optional. Even if became optional, but this ruling is still valid, which is, if it is a day of obligatory fasting and we woke up in the morning, like the first day, let's say tomorrow is the first day of Ramadan. Let's say that when I went to sleep today, I knew that nobody sighted the moon. So I thought tomorrow is not Ramadan, so I slept. In the morning I woke up and I ate. Let's two scenario. I ate. And after like 10, 11, 12 or whatever, whenever, somebody comes and tells me today is the first day. So how is it? So somebody saw the moon. So what should I do now? I follow the hadith of Salam ibn al-Aqwa. I stop eating and I continue my fast. I don't have to make up anything. Or the other scenario, which I didn't eat anything. I do the same thing. I continue fasting. But doesn't this contradict the hadith of our mother Hafsa radiallahu anha? The Prophet said you need to have the intention the night before. It doesn't contradict. Because the hadith of Hafsa radiallahu anha is talking about a person who knows that tomorrow is Ramadan. And still he did not make his intention. This is the person who cannot fast. As for the one who didn't know and he woke up in the morning, I just gave you a scenario. For him, it doesn't apply. For him, he can fast in the morning whenever he comes to know that this is the first day of Ramadan. Imam Shawkani, he said, even if it is some time before the breaking of the fast, if he knows this is the first day, he continues fasting for that specific amount. Even if it's for 1 hour or something, his fasting is valid and he, inshallah ta'ala, does not have to make up anything. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Do we have to verbalize the intention? Some people, they teach, Nawaitu an asumu Ramadan kada kada. This is not done by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as-Sahabat al-Kiram. And Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, when he was asked this question, he said, this is foolishness, because it is like a person who wants to eat and he says, for example, I have a glass of water, I'm going to hold it, then I'm going to put my hand in it and I'm going to take the food and then I'm going to put it in my mouth, then I'm going to chew it and then I'm going to swallow it. He said this is foolishness. Nobody makes intentions like this for his actions. Similarly, for the religion, why do we have to concoct? Why do we have to make up something if there is nothing from the Prophet ﷺ? His student Imam Ibn Qayyim said the same thing. He said when the Prophet ﷺ started his prayer, all what he said is Allahu Akbar. He did not say, I am facing the Qibla, I am praying for rakat of Isha behind the Imam, facing the Qibla for the sake of Allah. All of these things people concocted. And some of them, they said it will make the intention good. No, it doesn't make the intention good. In fact, this is foolishness and silliness, because the Prophet ﷺ didn't do it. And if you think about it, the intention, the Prophet ﷺ said, Innamal a'malu binniyah. Indeed, the deeds are depending upon the intention. All of these years when the Prophet ﷺ prayed and fasted and did Hajj and Umrah and all these things, never in any occasion he verbalized the intention whatsoever. Now, some of the people, they say that there is only one place where we verbalize the intention, which is the Hajj. It is not. There is no verbalization of intention. In the Hajj, when we are standing in the miqat and when we are saying Labbaik Allahumma bi Umrah or Labbaik Allahumma bi Hajj, we are not declaring the intention of Hajj or Umrah. We are declaring the state of Ihram. When we, like the way when we stand, when we say Allahu Akbar, are we declaring the intention or are we declaring that we are entering the prayer? So it is a declaration of the entrance of the prayer. When we say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, did we make intention to exit? All these people who say that you have to make intention, verbalize to enter, we tell them what you're going to do when you exit. So before you exit, you say, now I face the Qibla and I'm sitting and I'm going to break my prayer for the sake of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Would you want to come? And when you are going to eat, for example, are you going to say, oh, I know this food is halal and I got this money halal and I got this food halal and every ingredient in this food is halal and it is zabiha and it is this and I know this for sure and I am eating this for the sake of Allah. If we are going to do this for all of our action, we are going to go crazy. Okay, and I usually give the children some example. I said, when you go to the bathroom, like Imam Ibn Qayyim said, do you say, I'm going to now go and I'm going to open the door and then I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that and then after do this, I will do that. Do you? Or do you know that already what you're going to do? That's the intention. So when it comes to the religion, we know that what we are doing is only for the sake of Allah. Now, I'm going to give you one example before I finish. Let's say that I'm sick tonight. Tomorrow is the first day of Ramadan. Okay? And I'm debating, should I fast, should I not fast? Should I fast, should I not fast? Okay. Then I said, well, you know what? I will wake up before Fajr and I'm going to decide. And I slept. And I woke up and it is after the Fajr has already started. At this situation, I can't fast anymore because I knew that tomorrow is Ramadan and I did not make up my intention. So what would be the smart way to do this? Smart way would be, if I am feeling sick, this is what I will do. I'll fast tomorrow. In case I cannot fast, I'll break my fast. So now you have the intention, you sleep. Even if you wake up after the Fajr, you can fast now because you already made up your intention. This is something in the heart. This, of course, is not verbalized. Similarly, a person is traveling. They always ask, tomorrow, do I have to fast? Do I don't have to fast? You decide that you're going to fast, and then let's see tomorrow. If when you are in the state of traveling, you have the option, and we're going to talk about the travelers and the sick people. All of this we're going to step by step, inshallah ta'ala, and clarify the rulings and so on and so forth. When it is obligatory to fast, when it is obligatory not to fast, and so on and so forth. And if somebody doesn't fast, what would be the fidya? And all of these things will be discussed, inshallah, if we have time next time. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us prepared for the month of Ramadan with the teaching of the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.